Roger Stone, who I've known for a long time, at one time I represented him when he was caught on video at a toga party at the San Diego Republican Convention in 1996 and was smeared in the media. I actually defend him in that. I also was on an executive finance committee. He was representing Jack Kemp, who I loved, who I wanted to be president. I was actually on that committee with President Trump at the time when Trump was a businessman. And later, he was my campaign manager for a few weeks during my Senate campaign until we went our own separate ways and his people left with equipment that I had bought with my own funds, put me in a real financial hole. At that time, without advising me, and after I had agreement with him that he would represent me exclusively as a campaign consultant, he was actually campaign consulting for Al Sharpton. That tells you something about Roger Stone. Now he's screaming high heaven that after having been convicted on 7 felony counts, count them, 7 felony counts, 5 for perjury, 1 for obstruction of justice, 1 for witness tampering, for threatening a material witness, not only with regard to his dog, but threatening to file bar complaints against that material witness, Randy Credico's best friend, Margaret Kunstler. And that's what Stone does. He files bar complaints against people to harass them. Stone is now crying that he has to do time. Well, let me tell you something. This is not just a process crime. If you lie under oath, I don't care who you're lying to, whether it's Congress, whether it's in court, or whoever. If you're lying to the government, that's perjury, and that needs to be punished. That's not acceptable. You cannot have a legal system that functions when people lie under oath. You cannot have a legal system that functions when people threaten material witnesses. And you can't have a legal system which functions when you hide documents which people want you to produce. Now, here's what people don't understand. I sat in that trial of Roger Stone, the prosecution, for 2 weeks. I did it for Jerry Corsi, my client, Dr. Corsi, who was defamed by Roger Stone. Roger Stone feared that Corsi was going to testify against him, so Stone went out and defamed both Corsi and me viciously. Stone was sued for that. There are 6 lawsuits that are pending on that basis. But Roger Stone did not present one witness at that trial, not one original document as evidence, did not take the stand himself. You know, he's a big mouth. If he had something to say, he could have taken the stand, Fifth Amendment or not, but he didn't. And he was convicted in rapid order and in rapid time. And the judge, who I don't like, Amy Berman Jackson, she's very leftist, she gave him a lot of slack at that trial. Even complimented his lawyers sometimes, which didn't deserve complimenting, because those lawyers didn't do their job, as a matter of fact. Stone has one defense on appeal as ineffective assistance of counsel. And in fact, in affirming the conviction the other day, Stone's lawyers tried to say that the jurors were tainted, they were politicized. Well, all juries in the District of Columbia are tainted toward conservatives. That's not going to happen otherwise. It's a leftist place. About 90% of that city, actually higher, 95 voted for Obama and voted for Clinton. Those lawyers never moved to change venue. They left it there. Now, Roger was in control. He could have told them to do it, but he didn't do it. And he could have told them to do a thorough job on checking out the jurors, but he didn't do it. He raised a lot of money for his defense. What was that money used for? You have to ask that question. So to be blunt, the judge made the proper decision in upholding the jury verdict, and now he's scheduled to go into federal prison in 2 weeks. He says that's a death sentence. Well, that's about as credible as when he was raising money and said that he had found God, trying to appeal to evangelicals and others and people of faith, and then the next day goes to a strip club. In fact, I served him with a complaint on behalf of Corsi and myself at that strip club. What I'm trying to tell you is this, is the man is very suspect. And this is the problem here, is that he needs to do time. He does not deserve sympathy. People cannot lie under oath, threaten witnesses. I don't care in what context, whether it's Robert Mueller or otherwise. And I don't like Mueller. I've indicted Mueller. We have cases against Robert Mueller for his witch hunts. He's a totally sleazy individual. But Roger Stone is a sleazy individual too. They deserve each other. And he should do time. And for those people who think that he's been wronged, think again. And I say to the president, President, don't pardon him, because if you do, you're going to set a very bad example in this justice system. You'll be pardoning him because Roger Stone knows a lot about you. He was your consultant for a very long time in the gambling industry, and we know what that industry is all about. So don't do it, because you're going to lose independent voters. It's going to be a very close election, and you cannot afford that, and you cannot set a bad example for the American people. And in the future, hang around good people. Don't hang around the Roger Stones. Don't hang around the Paul Manaforts, who was Stone's partner, who Stone got him his job as the campaign manager. Don't hang around the Michael Caputos, who, can believe it or not, is now the spokesman for the Department of Health and Human Services. He was my press secretary, left with equipment that I paid for when he was working with Stone. Stone brought all of his cronies in, and they were all gone when we went our separate ways, but he took my equipment. This is not somebody who is an honest person, Caputo. He's been sued too by Corsi. So don't cry for me, Argentina. Roger Stone is no Eva Perón. Roger Stone is a person who deserves to do time. If you do the crime, you should do the time. And President Trump, respect the legal system. That's my message for today. I'll be back next week with another edition of Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman. But I couldn't help but speak out today because this concept being put forth by Roger Stone's surrogate, who is Tucker Carlson, who also had his person, Chuck Ross, defame Jerry Corsi, my client, for Stone during this whole Russian witch hunt. Put Stone on the other day, he's going to have a death sentence. There's no death sentence. They've tested everybody in these federal prisons. Nobody has coronavirus anymore. And I don't care who else was let out. But that's about as credible as saying I found God and going to a strip club the next day. I don't think God frequents strip clubs. So I want to God bless you and God bless your family. There's a little humor to this, but it's not going to be humorous if Roger Stone gets a pardon. Forward this podcast, share it on iPhone, iTunes, Spotify, Roku, Facebook, freedomwatchusa.org, and God bless you and your family, and stay safe. I'll be back tomorrow with another special edition, a Special Prosecutor with Larry Klayman, as our daily podcast.